Hi all. Um, Due to the weather situation, we're not going to actually meet for class on Thursday again, the same way as Tuesday, but instead of having a Zoom meeting, um, due to my own internet going in and out so much, what we're going to do instead is I'm going to give you this video uh, lecture covering the assignment that you're going to have this weekend. And so what you're going to be doing this weekend is you're going to be drafting out your paper one. I didn't want to start this outside of class, but we really need to get started on it because we have so many papers that we're going to have to write this semester. We have 4 of them all together, and this is the first one. And if we allow this to get too accordion together, it's going to stress all of us out way too much. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to outline and draft your paper, and then you're going to work on that over the weekend. You'll bring in what you end up having on Tuesday. We will use it in class and go over how to fix it up, how to put it in MLA format, how to look for errors and things like that. And then on Thursday, you'll have finished your draft and we will do peer review. That is next Thursday. So this is an assignment we would have done in class more or less, but we're going to do it here instead. The example we're using is the Jill student literacy narrative, the one that we covered in class. I think it's the best of the two, and what we're looking at here is kind of how it's all set up. She starts off talking about the background of her fear with public speaking, taking the speech class, having all of that anxiety, wanting to quit, and then after that she starts figuring out, she talks with her teacher, she figures out how to overcome her problem, she fights with it a little bit, and then at the end, she has her moment where she overcomes it and kind of takes that confidence into other parts of life. And your story is going to have a very similar outline to this one. So yeah, basically all these stories can be divided into 5 different parts. The first part of your story is going to talk about, it's going to introduce what's going on. So you're setting up your scene, you're setting up your characters, you're setting up who the people are in the story, where it takes place, what's going on in your life that's relevant to your subject at hand. That's what your first part is going to be. And then after that, you're going to get into the actual conflict. So the next 3 parts are all going to be about the conflict. Every story has to have a conflict, and you're going to have one where either you're having some trouble that you overcome or some trouble that overcomes you. You never know. So describe the complication. First of all, is the first time you encounter this problem that you're going to face in the story. Usually this is the part where it seems like it's going to be the most trouble for you. It probably defeats you a little bit. Show how frustrating it is, show what's difficult about it, show how overwhelming it is. Generally, that's what you do here. Evaluating the complication. So this is where you start to figure out your complication. This is where you decide how you're going to deal with that. This is where you start making a plan. This is where you ask for help. So yeah, this is where you are piecing together how you're going to defeat this problem. Resolution. This is the exciting climax of your story where you face your problem and you either defeat it or you don't. Usually you'll defeat it, right? This is where you go about writing your research paper that you're afraid to write and turning it in and getting a good grade. This is where you in the case of this one where you stand up in front of the class and you give your big speech. So finally, last part here is what you learned. None of this stuff happens in a vacuum. If this was a really important event that you went through here, then you will take that and into other parts of your life. So, what kind of confidence did you get from this? What kind of bad feelings did you get from it? In some cases, some people write about that. So, to take you through these 5 different parts with Jill Student's paper. Jill Student's problem, she was a first-year college student, and she was afraid of public speaking, and she had to take a public speaking class in order to fulfill all of her requirements for college. Part 2, description of the complication. So this was where Jill stands up, or Jill has to introduce herself to the class, and she has a really hard time talking in front of everyone. She wants to quit the class and is prepared to go and drop. Part 3, evaluation of the complication. For Jill's point of view, this is where she talks to her teacher. Her teacher tells her not to quit, tells her to stick with it, and tells her that they can make a plan, and they start actually planning. She starts studying, she starts preparing for the actual speech that she's going to give. Resolution. So how does she solve that problem? This is where Jill actually faces her fear. She gives her speech. She memorizes the first part of it. She makes sure she's talking about something that she's really prepared for. And everyone claps at the end because she did such a good job. And then the last part here, what did she learn? So she learned confidence that she can take outside of the classroom. She feels comfortable talking in front of other groups of people now, not just her speech class. And that has affected her life far beyond just getting her a good grade on a speech, right? Okay, so that's part 1. Part 1 is organizing your story like that. And like if you're just writing about your best writing experience, you probably still learn something like this from that. You're probably, if you just went to the library every day and looked up books, you probably found some book series that really captured your imagination like this, and you can make that what it's about. If you're learning to read on your grandma's couch, then you struggled with reading at first, as we all do, and had to start to figure out the words. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a very serious conflict. You can talk a little more glowingly about this, but there needs to be some kind of conflict in there. All right, so once you've organized your draft like this, you've made a very simple outline like this one that I'm highlighting now. The next part that you want to do is add as many details as you can to each part of the scene. So, how did, more specifically, what's going on in their lives, in your life at that time? What was the classroom like that you were in? What was the teacher like that you talked to? What did it feel like to freeze up on that speech? What did, was it cold in there? Did it smell like breakfast because somebody brought breakfast in every day? Or coffee because the teacher always drank coffee? Could you, see birds outside? Something like that. So, yeah, add details to each one of these different parts. We had, up here, Jill is afraid of public speaking and takes a speech class. She's a freshman in college. She's nervous about the class. It's a cold, bright room with 30 students in it. So, 30 students, that's an important detail because it's a lot harder to talk in front of 30 students than it is to talk in front of 5. Cold and bright, there's nowhere to hide. Things like that are adding to your story, even if you don't realize they are. Just try to find all the details you can and make sure that you're putting in the really important ones. Next one here, Jill fails her first day, wants to quit. She was called on to talk about herself. She froze and didn't speak. She forgot her own name. Everyone was staring at her. So these details are really good because they're Not just telling us that she failed on her first day, they're showing us how she failed. She couldn't remember her name. Everyone's staring at her. We all kind of understand what that's like. Third part here, teacher tells her not to quit, helps her make a plan. Everyone else leaves, but the teacher stops her and tells her not to quit. She makes a plan. She writes her speech in advance and practices. It's important that that you're telling us what your plan is, whatever it is that you're doing to overcome this, whatever studying you're doing, whatever work you're putting in, so that we understand it. More details about our teacher would help too. Tell us what she looks like. Tell us where she's studying all of this stuff. Tell us how she's writing it down. Last part, Jill faces her fear of her grade speech. She's nervous at first that she will fail, but she stands in front of all of the same people as before and recites the intro word for word, and then the rest of the speech is easy. More details on this part would have been good too, just in the actual paper itself. Yeah, so I think you kind of understand. Jill gains confidence in speaking and getting over the challenge and getting over challenges. She can speak in public now and knows how to overcome challenges. Yeah. So, yeah, adding details. It doesn't matter at this point if they're in order or not. All you're trying to do is think of any details you can. Concrete details that you can see, smell, taste, touch, feel. Any of those are really good. But also details about what's happening are really important as well. Lastly, once you have all those details written out, you can write way more than this if you want to. What you want to do is go in and actually write out your paragraphs. Make sure everything is in order. Make sure that you're explaining things in the simplest way possible so that your readers can understand it. Make sure you're explaining everything you can. You're not going to get it all. That's what the editing process is for. That's what we'll do in class. But you're just trying to tell your story as completely as you can. And so down here, I just have a couple paragraphs from her actual paper that I've copied in here. All right. So you have until, like I said, you have until Monday night to complete this. What you want to do is have at least half of your paper done by then. That should be about a page and a half. Try to get the first, 3 parts done. If not the whole thing. If you can get the whole thing done, then class on Tuesday will be a breeze for you. On Tuesday, you're going to need to have enough of this done to look over it, go over it with some of your peers. It's not going to be the actual peer review. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do yet. I think we're going to be working on MLA, working on finding small mistakes, working on making sure we have enough detail. And then Thursday we'll have peer review after that. Alright guys, so work on this. If you have any questions, send me an email or a message in Canvas, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Stay warm and safe, and I will see you all on Tuesday.